back again, D-Gens. It is I, your guy, TJ, along with the only thing more worthless than a 28-3 lead in the playoffs for the Falcons. Worthless Watkins. Say hi, Watkins.
Hi, Watkins.
Good job. You didn't do that last week. You just waved. Anyway, week 5, we are on to the AFC, and we're starting with the AFC North. So we got Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincy, and Pittsburgh. We got some answers for some questions. We've got some projections that we're going to have. I actually got to pull up on my phone some of these answers because I was actually texted a couple of them. But no guests today. We had a couple who were trying, but they couldn't make it tonight. That's all right. Um, we'll rock it duo. Hold on, my cat. Go. Started scratching me. Yeah, me and Watkins will go duo here, and make sure that we answer the questions as best we can, and we're gonna get right to it after a couple of announcements. Uh, Once again, Watkins has a few things that he wants to promote. I'm just going to re-promote our Eliminator Challenge. Once again, if you guys have any questions or want to join, you can always DM me. See how that goes. But Watkins, what do you got?
Every week, same story. Please DM me if you want a wait list for the startup for the Dynasty IDP League and the Salary IDP League. I sent out another announcement on Discord today. Spots open still. DM me. And some people might have seen it already. I made a channel for the Pick'em Challenge with a little spreadsheet. Sometime in the next couple weeks, I'll start getting the polls up. I'd rather wait until closer to week 1. But it'll probably be like maybe the weekend before week 1. I'll get the polls up so everybody can make their week 1 picks. And then we gotta make our week 1 picks, but I assume we'll do that on an episode.
Sounds good. Actually, nice little crossover into one thing I did. I'm going to give you the option, Watkins, since I'm such a nice guy. When I win this year, I'm going to give you 2 options.
Yeah.
One, you can shave the beard, which you may die after that.
I told Brittany, my wife, for those of you who don't know, about that, and she was very upset at the possibility.
We do this. We do this for the DJs.
Yep.
The other, have you ever heard of a chompy drink?
No.
Of course you haven't, because I just made it up this morning.
Great.
So a chompy drink, a chompy shot. It's actually, well, I guess 6 shots. So you're going to take a shot of ketchup, hot sauce,
Okay.
orange juice, mayonnaise, pickle juice, and yellow mustard. CHOMPY, chompy shot.
I mean, I'm fine with
Sounds
all of that
delicious.
actually, but it sounds disgusting in order.
Just pretend like it's a really soggy hamburger and you wash it down with orange juice.
I honestly think that ketchup would be the worst part of that. To shoot.
Yeah, probably. Well, I don't know. The mustard's going to be pretty.
I like mustard. I think I could handle mustard over ketchup.
A whole shot worth of mustard?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see here at the end of the year. So I can't wait for that.
You gotta win first.
Sounds like you're accepting the chompy shot. Oh, I'm playing it.
We'll see.
Other than that, that is all. I got one more announcement. On a more serious note, Blake from a couple weeks ago. I just want you all to keep thoughts and prayers for Blake. There's actually nothing wrong with him. He just still lives in Atlanta, and I just think he needs that right now. Take a chompy shot for Blake.
Yeah.
All right, on to the business. We're going to start with Baltimore because that's what I have first on my notes.
Me too, actually.
That's how things go. Whatever's first on my little piece of paper. All right, so I actually have them pulled up over here. This is GR Dube, not RJ Dube. GR Dube. He owns the Ravens. He pretty much went into tank mode. And we have one question for him. Let me pull that up real quick. It was. What are your feelings on Mingo and Wicks? Haven't heard too much out of training camp. Seems like Turi has been outperforming Wicks for the number 3. What is hopes for first round pick with hopefully having an established quarterback? Where do you see yourself competing in division? What are your thoughts?
Um, all right, so trying to put myself in the mindset of the Ravens team here.
Okay.
Yes, they went tank. They didn't really go full tank though. I mean, we know that they traded off Lamar Jackson and pretty much all of the major Ravens pieces, but kept some pretty key ones like Roquan Smith and David Ajabo and Odefa Owa, and then kept a couple of like the backup skill positions, so the backup running back, backup tight end, backup wide receivers.
Mhm.
Obviously they took Bryce Young and Jonathan Mingo in the first round last year, which I think is, I mean, yeah, I haven't really paid that much attention to Panthers camp news, but I mean, if Mingo's not making a big splash, it is what it is. I think really he would care more about Bryce Young and how Bryce Young is going to do more than Mingo. Obviously, if he can get that Young Mingo connection, it'll be great, but I think Bryce Young's the more important part here. And Wicks is kind of probably a who cares. It's more of a shot in the dark. I think it was a third round pick. Yeah. Oh, literally last pick of the draft, 3.32. So
Mhm.
if that, if Wicks doesn't work out, Wicks doesn't work out. Who cares there? Obviously, he's not trying to compete this year. As far as where he would think that he would be in the division, he probably thinks it's going to be last, and that's where he wants to be. I mean, he's got 6 first round picks and 5 second round picks next year.
And yeah, and he had quite a few first round picks this year.
Yeah, so I think he's
So
playing. He's playing for the draft next year. That's what he's playing for. He doesn't really care.
yeah. As for news out of camp, the only thing I've heard was today. I think randomly on ESPN, they're talking about how the Jets, how Aaron Rodgers sucks still, and was showing some frustration. But Bryce Young was able to do a 2 minute drill and get a quote unquote game winning field goal. So, um, so apparently Bryce Young is apparently Hall of Fame material already.
Hell yeah,
Um, yeah, just call it right now. Beating Aaron Rodgers in practice.
yeah. I mean, I like the Ravens roster where it's at. Having Bryce Young is great. As long as he works out in Carolina, then you've got your franchise quarterback. He's only 22.
Yeah,
And if Mingo ascends the depth chart over the next year or two, then you've got, that QB1 wide receiver 1 connection.
I I don't know. I'm not super high up on Young. I would not have drafted Young over Stroud or Richardson. I think Young would have been third on my pick list. Um,
For fantasy purposes, probably, but, it could be worse.
it could be worse.
And again,
I'm
with 6 first round picks next year, including his own, which should end up being like, probably top 10,
He'll
then,
probably have a couple starting
then yeah, he
quarterbacks.
could get another quarterback if he wanted.
Yeah, I'm actually high up on Mingo. I think the reason I'm so high up on him is because you see it time and again when two rookies come together on the same team, same year. They just have this connection. Um, and who else is Bryce Young going to throw it to? Uh,
Well, I mean, right now it's going to be Adam Thielen and DJ Chark. I think at best, Jonathan Mingo's wide receiver 3 this year, at least to
Thielen's,
start the year.
Thielen's 32. He's old. He does have great hands, but I think he's lost a step. Maybe I'm wrong because it's just because he's been overshadowed by JJ up in Minnesota, but I don't know. I'm a big Thielen fan. As for Shark, I've never been a big fan of Shark, so um, take that as you will. I don't know. There's something about him I've never been. I just don't think he's very consistent. And
Yeah.
you can look at his fantasy points here, and it kind of shows that he's not very consistent. So wasn't consistent in Jacksonville. Didn't seem. I mean, he missed quite a few games in Detroit. I mean, we'll see what he does in Carolina, but I don't know. He just seems.
I think Mingo probably starts the year as wide receiver 3, but can easily jump into the wide receiver 2 spot over Chark.
Yeah. And Mingo's a bigger guy compared to the other
Yeah.
two. 200 pounds, 195, and then you got Mingo at 220. So, um, but we'll see. It's also going to kind of depend on, I mean, Carolina's defense and how close these games are. I mean, if they can keep the games close, they're probably running the ball a lot more with having Sanders. So, um,
I like Isaiah Likely too. He's got Isaiah Likely, the heir apparent to Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely is very good.
yeah,
Kept Roquan Smith, who as a Bears fan, I mean that's my guy. I wish Roquan Smith the best career possible, and he's showing that he can continue having it in Baltimore.
he's he's a beast. Yeah, and with that, I mean, in terms of depth, I mean, he doesn't have a lot. Looks like he's going to be relying on maybe, hopefully, some rookies getting some points for him in the defensive side of the ball, projection wise.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
again he held Roquan Smith because I mean why wouldn't you?
yeah,
And he's got Kyle Hamilton, fucking rookie safety. Well, not rookie anymore. This will be his second year, but he's very good. Like kept a couple of the young guys with upside. Kept Roquan Smith. Kept Isaiah Likely, and then fucking shipped everybody else off and was like, all right, see you in the 2024 draft.
and all that to say, I still don't think he's going to be the worst team this year by far. Um,
No,
I've got him at 3-10 actually. So
I have him at 4-9.
4-9. I was very off and on one of those games.
Which one?
I don't remember,
Of course you don't.
but I do have his wins. I just have them on the weeks. So his week 5, 6, and 10 opponents.
So I have 5, 6, 10, and 12. So the only difference is I have him beating the Lions in week 12. Other than that, we have the same wins. It's probably week 6 versus the Steelers. We both have him beating the Steelers in week 6 because that's Steelers bye week hell, I think. And so I think the Ravens are going to beat the Steelers in their bye week, which is going to be real rough for the Steelers.
Yeah, I feel like the Lions are going to pull this one out. It's a close
Yeah.
projection. But the thing is, he is relying on a lot of rookies.
Yeah.
So I feel like rookies sometimes, especially like Bryce Young, is probably going to be a little bit higher than in projections of what he'll actually do. And then week 5, let's see here. Yeah, we got against the Packers. Week 6,
This is
we
the
got,
Steelers bye week hell one.
yeah, 84 points to 103. Still not miserable for
I
the
mean,
Steelers.
that's, obviously people change their lineups, so you can't go just based off of the projections right there.
Yeah, but I did take a look and
Yeah.
see, who he's gotten. It does look like it's probably going to be a win for Baltimore, and then the Texans.
Yeah.
I have him beating the Texans by no one's shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking no one, I guess I should say. So yeah, 3-10 to 4-9. Once again, pretty similar.
Yep.
That's it. That's gonna be it for Baltimore. We'll head on off to Cincinnati is my next one up actually. So Cincinnati, I had a question for him. I'll let you answer that since I'm not gonna answer my own damn question once I find it. So Nevitz, I feel your team was in a fine spot, and after one trade where the majority of the league felt you lost to, you went into an immediate sell mode. Was that the reason, or did you think you just didn't have enough to win the division?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I highly doubt that the one kind of bad trade was like the tipping point. Like he, or even that he took that and was like, "I fuck it, I'll blow it all up." I doubt it. I think he might have been on the fence already. And it's probably not that he didn't think he had enough to win the division, because once we get to these 3 teams' projections, I think he'll see that it's pretty muddy between the 3 of them, the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Browns. Their projections are all within 2 games of each other. So I think the Bengals honestly could have won the division. It's just,
I do too.
would they have? It's comes down to all 3 of those teams. And I don't know. I honestly don't know why he decided to kind of do a small rebuild. And I mean, to be fair, he didn't sell a whole lot. And he's kept a lot of really good young pieces. I think he's just trying to maybe stretch out um, like his ability to compete to be more less win now and more win over a couple of years later. Because the
I,
Browns and the Steelers, neither one of them have really made very many moves. So if he can set himself up in like 2025 to compete that year and then onward, then he won't have as much competition that he does right now.
yeah,
The
he
problem with
so
that is that's when the Ravens are going to start competing.
he didn't go into a full sell mode for sure. But he more or less just announced it. I think he made one or two trades. I might have actually traded with him during that.
Well, I mean, the
Uh,
Bengals, I don't know about like since he announced it, but from the start, I mean, he moved Jamar Chase, he moved T. Higgins, he moved who did he traded Michael Pittman to me. So I mean, he's traded some major pieces,
mhm.
but he's kept Joe Burrow. He still has James Cook. He got Michael Meyer in the draft last year. I traded him Terrence Marshall, who we'll see what he's is in Carolina. I traded him Kirby Joseph, only 22-year-old starting safety of the Lions. So nice young defensive starter. But then he still has pieces like Matt Milano and Zay Jones that are older guys that he could still flip for more pieces for his short rebuild.
Yeah, reference on that trade, it was Rose Boom, and a third that he got for Harris. I'm still, I still think that was a fine
I
trade.
also still think it was a fine trade. I mean, Roseboom obviously doesn't have the
The pedigree.
I don't know about that, but like there's no hype around Roseboom. He's been in the league for a couple of years. He's just been depth special teams guy for the Rams. But I don't know if anybody else knows this, but the Rams kind of suck and they've got like no players on their roster this year, and so Roseboom's probably going to start.
Yeah, and
And I
he's gonna have
mean,
to make a lot of tackles.
yeah, Harris has some hype and he's young and he's a linebacker for the Texans who don't have a whole lot of high caliber starters. So yeah, he's probably also going to be good, but there's nothing saying that Roseboom's not also going to be good. He could show up as a starter. Who knows? Obviously, I would have rather had Harris, and I'm sure everybody else would have also rather had Harris. But I don't think the trade is as like it's not roster breaking. It wouldn't have stopped him from competing.
Right now, they have Roseboom projected to be a starting linebacker, and he's actually projected sixth in total points on Cincinnati's team. So
Yeah,
he's projected to be Nevitt's sixth best player.
yeah.
Um, so, and obviously Joe Burrow's gonna lead all that.
I don't know.
Um,
Obviously, Nevitz has kind of been back and forth between whether he wants to compete or whether he wants to rebuild. And I think he's one of the guys that doesn't have as much IDP experience.
he doesn't.
So obviously that comes with a whole separate set of issues if you're not exactly sure what type of IDP players to be targeting. But I mean, I think he's done a good job. I think his defense is fine. It's on the older side, but they're still really good players. And I still
Yeah,
honestly think if he made a couple of moves, he could still easily win this division.
yeah. I mean, one, having Joe Burrow is always a huge
Yeah.
benefit. But yeah, and also when you talk about how old his defense is, usually defensive players last until they're in their mid 30s,
Oh yeah.
late 30s. So those are the kind of players that you don't worry about. Oh, he's 26, probably not going to be on my dynasty league for much longer.
I mean,
Uh,
the big problem right now with maybe trying to do this like mini rebuild is that he's got in 2024 is third round pick. That's it. So what? You're just gonna roll with this roster for this year and next year. Defense is just getting older. Burrow's just getting older. I mean, obviously Burrow's only 26, so it's not like he's fucking grandpa yet. But like that's gonna be 2 years of James Cook, you know, and then just see what this looks like in 2 years and make a couple of small trades along the way because he doesn't really have picks until 2025 where he's got two firsts. Those two firsts being our two first. He has our two first round picks. He has my second and his own second, and then the Eagles, and Texans and Eagles third round picks, and then my fourth round pick. So I mean, he's got a decent little 2025 draft class, but is he just gonna float along until 2025 and then not try and compete until 2025, 2026? I don't know. I guess we'll see what he does, but I think that he could easily take some of those first, grab a couple pieces, and compete now still.
Absolutely. Second question was kind of right on cue with us. What is the aim with the team? Are there any trades you regret? In an offense-run league, most points coming from offensive players. Do you have any faith in any of your wide receiver core, and why?
Yeah,
Um,
obviously we can't really answer what his direction or thought process is, and I'm sure that he's got some trades he wish he could take back. We all do.
yeah.
And then the
Uh,
wide receiver core, I mean, if he's, rebuilding, he probably doesn't expect anything. I mean, Mac Hollins is 29 and has been a career like wide receiver 3. And in Atlanta now, he's going to still be a wide receiver 3. Well, I guess he could be wide receiver 2 this year. I don't know.
let's find out. He is projected to be there too.
Yeah. I mean, Zay
Okay.
Jones is historically wide receiver 3 pretty much, and that's right where he's going to stay.
Uh, is he going to be 3? Yeah, I guess so. I wasn't sure if he'd be 4. Honestly, I'm surprised they have Calvin Ridley as their 1 over Christian and Kirk.
Yeah. And he's got
Um,
Terrace Marshall,
ain't
who
bad.
I traded him with the Panthers. He's probably not going to be much this year. And then his
Terrace
depth
Marshall.
receivers aren't really much better. So yeah, I mean his wide receiving core is shaky, but I mean that's because he traded Jamar Chase and T Higgins.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
yeah, we're not gonna delve too deep into regrets or anything like that because you
Yeah, we,
won't know.
we we definitely can't speak for him there. I don't know. I
I
still think that he could easily take his 2025 draft class and trade a couple of those picks for really just a legit wide receiver. The problem is who's going to trade him one?
yeah.
There's
I
not many to
uh
go around.
I have him going 5-8.
I have him going 6-7.
Okay. So I have him winning in week 2, 7, 8, and 9 and 10. So let's reference that out. Week 2, he plays Baltimore. Looks like
Yeah, I have him beating Baltimore week 2,
week
and then
7.
7, 8, 9, 10. I think is what you said.
Yep.
Is
So
Texans, Ravens, Packers, Titans. I also have him winning all of those.
yeah.
The only difference is I actually have him beating the Steelers in week 11.
Okay.
Yeah, I have him splitting with the Steelers this year and getting a win in week 11. But other than that, we have him
It
with the same
tops
record.
up 50-50. I just have a little bit more faith in Steelers players
I
and
think there might be a couple of key players he's got on bye that week, which is why I have the
yeah.
Bengals pulling it out. But I mean, 6-7, probably not enough to be wild card, but still fine for where his roster's at currently. But the
Yeah.
problem is, yeah, I mean, you'll see when I get the other projections, like just a couple more wins would be enough to win this division, and he could get it if he traded some of those 2025 draft picks, probably. But it would definitely take some maneuvering.
Yep. All right. On to Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh is well, it's my uncle's team. So I got all of his questions answers.
Hold on,
First one.
time out real quick.
All right. So questions from the Steelers. I have all the answers.
Not from the Steelers,
Um,
for the Steelers.
for the Steelers, from the Steelers, with the Steelers, of the Steelers, for the Steelers. First one was actually a question by me. I've given you the division in every ranking we've done because I feel your team is strong enough to win a division that doesn't have a juggernaut in it. However, your team is on the higher side of age and your draft picks for next year are gone. Can you see yourself still competing next year and the year after that? Do you want to find that answer and go ahead and answer that since that was my question?
Oh, yeah.
Take your time.
First off, I have no clue what I am doing. I don't follow football as closely as I have in the past. Can I compete next year? Yes, but not after that. I have to come up with a game plan for long term, but I am not worried about the future just yet. We will see how the start of this year goes first and then make moves accordingly.
Okay. I'm just going to go and do the other question as well, and then we'll kind of get into it because, like I said,
Yeah.
it's my uncle, so I know, how everything, he's thinking. So, this question was: what is your hope for a second-year jump for Pickett? You went from Pickens, Najee, and Johnson to Paris Campbell, Tyler Lockett, and Mondre. Was your aim to try and go for division title in a weak division? His answer was: it all starts with Kenny Pickett. I don't think Pickett will be a top 10 or top 15 quarterback in the NFL, but I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. He was 30th or worse among 33 qualifying quarterbacks in yards per attempt, touchdown rate, and quarterback rating. That led me to another problem. The Steelers have a lot of weapons on offense. Trading Harris for Stevenson happened because I think Stevenson has more upside than Harris, and I just like Stevenson a lot more. With the receivers, you have Johnson, Pickens, Robinson, and Frymouth. I don't think there are enough touches to go around with Big SQB. I think one of them will get 1,000 yards and 7+ TDs, but the rest will suffer because of Pickett. My aim is to always win, and I think I can win this division. My defense is pretty good. So, just like me, my uncle has really never done any kind of dynasties leagues. The first time I started a dynasty league was actually last year with Watkins. So just like me, he's kind of on that mindset of win now.
I don't think I knew that about you when I invited you to that league.
Oh yeah,
I knew you liked fantasy football. I just assumed
yeah.
you were a dynasty degenerate like me.
I've never done a dynasty before last year.
That's all I do.
But yeah, so our mindsets are more win now. So when it comes to like trades and stuff like that, we value what this player is doing now and maybe next year as opposed to, well, they have worse stats now, but he's 3 years younger, so I'm going to get 3 more years out of him, and he could be something good. Um, so for example, picking up Lockett. Yeah, he's older. He's an older cat, but I mean, he's been doing this every year, year in and year out. 30 years old, but his worst year was 173, or 158, but consistently 200 for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So that's what he's going to be looking at. Pickett, I would agree. I hope he does good because I have him in my other dynasty league. Um, I just
Pickett, I mean, we'll see. It's, yeah, 28th overall quarterback in PPR last year. He was injured a couple games. Didn't really do too much, but he said it in one of his answers too. The Steelers have a lot of weapons.
mhm.
So, and Coach Tomlin is one of the best. So if there was
that's
any quarterback to take a second year jump, you know, Pickett's in a good spot to do so.
that's where I'm at with Pickett. He may not be that great, but it's it's the Steelers. So I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and go with what happens every single year with the Steelers. They will go 9-8 or better,
Yep.
and they will do enough to win their division, and that means that their weapons will get
They're not going to win their division. They haven't won their division the past couple of years. The Bengals are going to win their division.
be in contention.
Sure.
For a playoff spot. How about that?
Yeah.
Um, as for weapons, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking. Yeah, you got Najee, you got Pickens, Deontay Johnson, I guess,
You
and Fire.
guessed. Deontay Johnson is very good. Pickens is very good. Najee Harris, very good. Fryermuth, very good.
I don't think I am not high up on Deontay, and I don't know why.
I like Deontay Johnson.
Um,
I like the Mondre trade, trading Najee Harris and Fryermuth for Mondre and Hunter Henry. So you downgrade at tight end to upgrade at running back, in my opinion. Uh, Mondre and Najee are similar age, similar types of runners. Mondre's got a little less wear and tear on him probably, and I don't know, personally I like Mondre better than Najee. I think that's a fine trade. Hunter Henry is obviously not the tight end that Fryermuth is, but serviceable.
yeah, I think one issue he's going to have is I think he may have traded at the end of it, but one or two draft picks this year. And from all reports, it seems like his first round pick, what was it, Booty, whatever you want to, however you pronounce his name, has not been exactly on fire.
Yeah, but I mean that's just training camp, so who
Yeah,
knows?
it is just training camp, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
no picks next year, so this roster rolls on another year. I mean, Paris Campbell, who fucking knows? It's a Giants wide receiver. There's 8 of them. Any one of them could be wide receiver one by the time the season rolls around. Paris
Yeah.
Campbell, I think, is penciled in right now as wide receiver 1, but who knows? I don't
Yeah.
know that I trust that. Tyler Lockett is going to do what Tyler Lockett does. I don't hate that trade. Obviously, he made it with you where you got Alex Highsmith and he got Tyler Lockett. So defensive
Yeah.
star for offensive star. There were a couple other pieces there, but they're negligible. I don't hate it. I think Highsmith is the better piece for Dynasty, but Tyler Lockett's an offensive weapon versus a defensive weapon. So I think that's a fine trade.
Yeah. That was also before Shaq Griffin had a team, which I'm pretty sure he's on one now. He got hired on at Houston, so he is
Yeah.
now a Texan.
The one I have the biggest issue with is the James Conner trade, where he got James Conner from the Chiefs for Robert Spillane, George Pickens, and a fourth. Just such a massive overpay for James Conner, a 28-year-old running back for the Cardinals. I mean, you can speak on that if that's a win now attitude, but I don't. I mean, it should have been James Conner and then some for just Pickens, but instead he gave Pickens a linebacker and a fourth round pick for a 28-year-old running back.
I mean, I'm looking right now at the two trades that Connor has been in, and it seems like everybody values Connor very highly. He went for Gordon Boyd in a second round
Yeah,
to
that's a
Kimchi
wide
Douglas.
receiver 3, a player nobody cares about, and a second round pick. But then all of a sudden he went for a wide receiver 1, a starting linebacker, and a fourth round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a wide receiver 1, a young wide receiver 1. A young good wide receiver 1.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but
I mean, obviously Pickens didn't really, but it's because he had Kenny Pickett throwing him the ball last year. So if
okay, well, he's
Pickett
going to have
takes a
Kenny
jump
Pickett
this
tomorrow.
year, yeah, but if Pickett takes a jump this year, then so will Pickens. Their success is tied together essentially.
I mean, it was
I'd
what?
still rather have Pickens if I have Pickett than James Conner, a 28-year-old running back.
It's coming from the dynasty. Yes, I get that. Another thing that I'll mention is I don't think he's ever done IDP before
Yeah,
this year either. Which again, I never did IDP before last year when I did your
man,
dynasty. So
I just dropped you right into the fire and
you did.
never realized it.
Uh, yeah, you sure did. But it's the best way to do it. Baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have him going 8-5.
I also am going 8-5. I
Okay.
wasn't done talking about his team. I still, for someone who's never done IDP, I like his defense. I mean, he kept a lot of the Steelers superstars, T.J. Watt, Minka
Yeah,
Fitzpatrick, Tremaine Edmonds. Traded
pretty easy.
Highsmith, but he got Shaq Thompson from somebody. Uh, he gave a 2024 first and a 2023 third for Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson's very good, a little older, but very good. Definitely a win now piece. I think he's in a fine spot. Like I said, I also am going 8-5. That's good enough to win the division, maybe.
And it's pretty easy to have a good defense to start when you start with this.
Yeah, with a good defense. And he's got a couple of depth pieces that are here or there. Miles Jack signing with the fucking Eagles is a good signing spot for him. He needs to take Crowder to sign now.
All right. Well, these are the teams that I have him beating. So it's going to be week 1 the Texans, week 3 the Titans, week 4 the Bungles, week 7 Indianapolis. Please do that for me. Week 8 Cleveland, week 9 Detroit, week 11 Cincinnati again, and then week 13 against Baltimore. You ain't beating me, Chad.
We, I have him with the exact same win-loss record, except
There it comes.
I have him beating you in Week 10 and losing to the Bengals in Week 11.
Nope, ain't happening. I can't. It's not gonna happen.
We'll see. I can't wait to get to your projections.
Yeah, when we get to the AFC South, I'll probably say that he's gonna beat me because I'll have
Yeah.
thoughts. That's just how it goes. But yeah, 8-5, and I don't I in terms of winning the division, that's gonna be a close one with the next team
Yeah,
here,
with the Browns, it's going to be very close.
Cleveland. So you said Cleveland didn't do a whole lot of moving. I think they did a little bit more moving than think. But
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
yeah, let's get to the question. What is your aim with your team as you have an older team with Keenan, Chubb, but you do but you do still have a long-term quarterback, the evasive, relevant tight end, and a young, strong defense. I don't know the wording on that for some reason.
I understood it. So yes, Chubb, Keenan Allen, old. Keenan Allen old especially, but he, traded Amari Cooper for Keenan Allen. What's his name? DeAndre Carter and Wingard, whoever that is. Who the hell's Wingard?
Wingard, that's Jaguars, I believe. Defensive player? No, or is it the Rams? I know that name though.
Is it on his taxi squad? Oh, it is. It's a defensive back. Yeah, for the Jaguars.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
Great.
I'd almost have rather had Amari Cooper. I mean, but Keenan Allen could give him, is a push, and he gets Keenan Allen and DeAndre Carter, so 2 wide receivers, and then some defensive back depth for Amari Cooper. I think he probably could have got more for Cooper, but it's not the worst. I like Keenan Allen. He may play for another couple years.
Yeah.
And as long as he can stay, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have to be a top, 10 wide receiver, but if he can stay in that kind of like 10 to 15 range that he's usually in, then I think that's fine.
I would say this team is probably as top heavy as any team in the league.
Yeah. Nick Chubb, I mean, 27 obviously, but let's not forget Nick Chubb is
Nick Chubb
17th, 8th, 11th, 13th, and 6th overall running backs since he came into the league. And that 11th, the year where he was 11th overall in PPR, he only played 12 games. Nick Chubb's very fucking good, and I don't think he's going to slow down. So
he doesn't have Hunt also to take some.
Yes, and he doesn't have Hunt to take some of his touches away. I mean, they're just going to give it to Jerome Ford, I think is his name.
They don't have ananybody behind him.
I think his name's Jerome Ford. I could be confusing that, but I think that's the guy's name. He doesn't look bad. I don't think he's going to get the amount of touches that Hunt got, but he will still take some touches. Chubb can't run the ball every single time because the Browns are a pretty run-heavy team.
Yeah.
I mean, you would be if you had Nick Chubb.
Which I think follows the irony of projections because they have Chubb at 255 and Watson at 299. I don't think I'm not a big fan of Watson. I wasn't when he was in Houston.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Watson the person.
As a player.
A player, I mean, he had 3 years in a row where he was the number 5 quarterback in the league, so he's got it. And then he, took the year suspension, and then he played 6 games for Cleveland last year. So, I mean, that's not much to go on. This will be the kind of true test to see if Watson can get back to what he was. I don't foresee him being the number 5 quarterback anymore, but if he can crack the top 12, then it's fine. And if he can hang around, the top 15 area for the rest of his career, then that's perfectly serviceable.
Yeah. Wide receivers.
The ever elusive, relevant tight end. Speak on that, David Njoku. I love David Njoku.
I do like him, but that's because I'm scared of him physically, and
he's a big fucking dude.
He is.
I love me some big dude tight ends.
You said it.
I really like Njoku, so that's really good to have at tight end. And then, I mean, even in his depth spots, he's got Miles Sanders, who's now the running back one for the Panthers, and
is
going to be great.
And Hubbard, if Sanders doesn't do.
Hubbard obviously is the weak spot on his starting offense, but I think that he'll get some touches.
The biggest thing for me is you have to have 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, he's got Allen, and then Jarvis Landry right now by default is his number 2 wide receiver.
DeAndre Carter is his number 2 wide receiver.
DeAndre Carter.
Yeah, which is not great. Yeah, and then Jarvis Landry, who's not even on a team right now, and then David Bell, who's like wide receiver 4 for the Browns, but only 22, so he could get up there. Yeah, obviously he needs.
I guess Landry needs to be on a team still.
Yeah, he does need some wide receiver help, but there are a lot of us that do, and there's not that many to go around. So it would depend on what he wants to give up for it. But I mean, I really like his defense too.
His defense is solid, but again, it's very top heavy.
Yeah.
I
Miles
mean,
Garrett and Devin White and Owusu Koromoa and then Grant Delpit, Eddie Jackson, so many big names. I mean, Denzel Ward is a sneaky, consistent cornerback in fantasy. There's not
he's
very many like good fantasy cornerbacks, and Denzel Ward is one of them.
yeah, he's I think at linebacker he's going to rely heavily on these rookies. So
Getting Devin White from the Buccaneers for a first, a second, and Emerson, whoever that is a really good trade because the first and second were the 49ers' first and seconds next year. So they're going to be a late first and a late second, and then Emerson, whoever that is, for Devin White is a solid trade.
Emerson, let's find out.
Devin White is a stud.
Uh,
He got Eddie Jackson, which I didn't trade him Eddie Jackson. I traded Eddie Jackson to the Panthers. Yeah, I traded Eddie Jackson and
Martin Emerson, defensive back for Cleveland. He scored 168 points last year.
so probably their other starting corner. I traded Eddie Jackson to the Panthers for a defensive line help, and then the Panthers flipped it to the Browns with a third-round pick for a second-round pick. So actually, I think that's a really good trade for Eddie Jackson too. Second-round pick for Eddie Jackson and a third-round pick. That's pretty good. Eddie Jackson's only 29, starting safety for the Bears. He's one of the best. He probably is the best player in our secondary before Jaquan Brisker got there. He doesn't put up like crazy safety numbers, but he's very good. Obviously, Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett, one of the highest scoring defensive linemen in fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very top heavy. His starting lineup is very good, and then you scroll down to his bench, and it's like, oh, nobody.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
If Clowney gets
Yeah, he needs Clowney to sign somewhere.
Yeah, so we'll see.
He could move some stuff around, but he's got a couple of people on his bench that aren't bad, but Chase Winovich, Tony Fields, Deion Jones, AJ Klein.
Do you have anything to add?
Don't forget Antonio Brown on the taxi squad. If Antonio Brown comes back, it's going to be a big boost for the Browns.
Okay.
Oh, he's got Greg Newsome still too on his depth. That's good up and coming secondary help for the Browns. Still has a first, 2 seconds, and a fourth next year, and then all his 2025 and 2026 picks. I like the position the Browns are in. They're not like ultra win now. Like obviously, I don't think they're going to compete with like Cowboys, 49ers, Chiefs, but I think that they could win this division and make the playoffs and hang around that area of the wild card teams.
Yeah, I am going 8-5.
I also am going 8-5, so tying with the Texans.
The Texans?
Or the Steelers, sorry.
Yeah. So I have a toss-up between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. I think Pittsburgh still takes it.
I think it's going to come down to points because I have them splitting this year. So it's going to come down to points if they do tie.
Yeah, I have Cleveland winning weeks 2, 3, and 4. Of course, he's not beating me. No one's ever going to beat me.
I do not have him beating you this time.
So I have him beating Pittsburgh in week 2, but losing in I think week 9 or something like that.
Yeah, week 8.
Yeah.
2, 3, and 4. We agree there. He beats the Steelers in week 2, the Texans in week 3, and the Ravens in week 4.
He loses week 6 and 7.
Loses or wins?
Wins week 7, 6 and 7.
Yes, that's the Bengals in 6 and the Titans in 7. I also have him winning there.
Then I have him losing 3 and winning out the last 3 games of the year. So
we have him winning the exact same games and losing the exact same games.
Okay. So yeah, that's what it's.
Beats the bad teams and beats a couple of teams that are kind of in his tier of middle of the road, like 8-5, record like that teams, and then loses to the kind of top echelon teams. The fun part is that we both have him losing week 5 to the Lions because it's bye week hell for the Browns.
It's bye week
got
hell.
No depth.
Yeah. How can you say that he is
Yeah, it's
projected
just
to lose
funny.
by 6 points?
It's funny is that the Lions are a tanking team who want to lose, and I don't think they're gonna even have a choice in Week 5. They're gonna win.
Take this one and you like it.
Right.
Um, I also think when I was looking through this that Cleveland has a lot easier schedule than Pittsburgh. I don't remember why I thought that,
They
but it
play the
seemed
same
like
teams.
do they?
Yep. They play the NFC North and they play the AFC, whatever your division is, the South.
South.
So they play the AFC South, the NFC North, and then they all play each other twice. It's the same schedule. They might
That's
be
that's
lucky.
14. So
So they
that's
lucked out in that they don't have to play the Vikings, and the Steelers do, which is how it was based off of the rankings because they play the NFC North, but they only play 3 teams. They don't play all 4 teams, and that was all based on our post-draft power rankings. I think it's the number 1 team never plays the number 4 team, and the number 2 team never plays the number 3 teams. So
that's what it is because
yeah,
the
they lucked out and don't have to play the Vikings, but the Steelers do.
and the Steelers don't play the Packers. So
Right.
I mean
Which,
that's a pretty big deal. I mean that's one
yeah,
game right there.
that is one game right
That's a
there.
huge one game difference
Yep.
because unless you're in bye week hell and losing to the Lions, I mean, but we'll see. It's gonna be close. I'm interested to see how the North was won. So
Yeah, the Browns and the Steelers are going to be a close race to the top of the division this year.
and Cincinnati could be sneaky good.
Yes.
Just hope Joe Burrow isn't too hurt.
I think it'll be fine.
All right, offensive player of the year. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's Joe Burrow. Come on.
I didn't want to go chalk.
But I mean, it's Joe Burrow. Come on.
It is Joe Burrow. My concern is Joe Burrow is probably going to get hurt. I don't. Sometimes I just have these feelings, and I'm concerned for Joe.
We don't have to do this whole thing where we pretend that there's an outside chance and
There's an
make up
outside.
hypotheticals. It's Joe Burrow and Roquan Smith. There's no competition in this division for offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year. It's Joe Burrow and Roquan Smith, and then a
It
bunch
is
of other
Roquan,
guys.
but you know what? I'm going with Chubb.
I mean, if Burrow gets hurt and Chubb doesn't, then sure, potentially.
I mean, Chubb has not had a 300-point year yet.
I think this is the year.
This is the year that he scores 300. He hit 280 last year. 280.4. So if Joe Burrow misses 2 games, I think that would be enough for Chubb to outpoint him.
It's possible.
Thank you. That's all I needed. Yes, Roquan Smith is winning Defensive Player of the Year in this division because he by far is better than any other defensive player. By far.
Yeah.
All right. This is probably actually the fastest one we've done. So,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's because it's just
It's a weird
there's
division. It's muddy.
there's no juggernaut.
Yeah, there's no juggernaut, and there's no like. I mean, there is a tanking team, but he's kind of went a different route than tanking. It's kind of hard to explain.
I'm excited, man. I cannot wait to see how 32 teams go.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be some good teams that just have rotten luck, and there's going to be some bad teams who want to be bad who are going to get some rotten luck and squeeze out a few wins.
I'm really interested to see what this league looks like in 3 years when the Texans and the Ravens and the Lions and the Packers get some of these picks done and start
And there's really no bye week
rebuilding. Yeah, and then there's no bye week hell.
because no team has got but maybe 2 or 3 people from their original team.
Probably your quarterback and then maybe like their main younger weapon.
And there's going to be other teams that the players get traded to that you do want to keep. So yeah, it's going to be interesting at that point. But next week's the East, the AFC East. So we got New England, New York, Buffalo, and Miami. That's going to be an interesting one too, because I know Saquon really hates the fact that I don't rank his team higher than what I do. Maybe he'll want to come on and defend himself.
Maybe, yeah. Same though. I also don't rank the Bills super high, and it'll be interesting to see their projections because I have some thoughts on the Bills team.
Well, as always, if anybody has any questions for RJ Dube, Erickson, Saquon, or Sopper, put it in the chat. We'll send it to them, see if they have any answers. If not, we gotta pretend like we're them. We're not very good at pretending people, so we're not very good at being ourselves. So, uh, and if any of you four want to jump in, just let us know. Uh, we try and make it as friendly as possible for people to get on time wise. Um, Usually it's just got to be later in the day, unless we want to push it into like a weekend or something like that, because we got kids. So,
Yeah, we do.
with that, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. Just a reminder for all the stuff that we said at the top of the show. Pick'ems challenge coming soon. Join the Eliminator challenge if you're interested in that, so we can make some money to for prizes for other shit. And join the wait list for the 2 other leagues that I'm trying to get started. I'm gonna give that like another week maybe, and then either decide to just wait until next year to start those or start pulling from Reddit.
All right. Well, I have nothing to add. So with that, we're off to go play Baldur's Gate 3. See y'all later.
Night.